Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cavanaugh's Corner. I'm Andrew Cavanaugh. Thank you for coming back to us here on the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at Season 5 of MacGyver, this guy right back here. This is kind of an ongoing series that I'm doing now with the announcement of the new MacGyver series, which is right around the corner. Kind of a surprise, but it's nice to see them bring back a classic. Hopefully they'll do it justice. Today's kind of an interesting day for me because I remember watching Season 5 of MacGyver when I was very, very young. So I have a lot of kind of strange, nostalgic feelings for this season. I even brought out one of my floppy, loose-fitting shirts that were very popular in the 90s, and this thing is really comfortable. My God, man, is it weird looking. Oh, anyway, I'm wearing this because this is the first season of MacGyver that took place in the 90s. This season premiered in 1990, the year I was born, and I remember seeing reruns of it when I was very, very, very young. But this is pretty much what I like to refer to as the Deep Space Nine season. This season of the show, this season 5, this is where MacGyver just full-on jumps the shark. He doesn't just jump the shark, man. He's riding like a flaming skidoo over the fucking thing. It is a nutty, nutty season of TV. This thing is so crazy. I may have a hard time surmising it unless you've seen this season of the show. This season, MacGyver does so much that it's really hard to get anything out of it. It's such a wild season. The two-part opener of the show is called The Legend of the Holy Rose, in which MacGyver not only rescues a guy that's being held prisoner by creating a man-made kind of like gyrocopter thing out of basically they send him like a few like pallets of bamboo and he makes a friggin' gyrocopter out of it. Incredible. I thought that was actually really cool. But this is the part of the show where I start to really have to hate on the writers now. Season 5 of MacGyver marks the time of the show where MacGyver's creativity, in terms of him creating stuff to get out of situations, becomes an all-time low. MacGyver, in almost every episode from here on out, and I mean this, almost every episode, he doesn't really create stuff other than that gyrocopter in the opening scenes of the first episode of the season. He is pretty much locked in a room where there is some kind of trap or something, or he's just simply locked in a room and he has to get out of it. And I'm not kidding, that happens in almost every episode of the show from here on out. And it's really, really tiresome after a while. Just within the first 2 episodes alone, MacGyver is tied up a few times and is put in some kind of trap that's going to kill him unless he tries to get out of it at the last second. And of course he manages to do it. It's interesting to watch, but they really use that way too much from here on out. Season 5 is also kind of where MacGyver slowly started to become Indiana Jones at random. The first episode of the show is a 2-parter, and MacGyver not only becomes like an Indiana Jones like adventurer in that opener, but it happens again later on in the season, and it's very much out of nowhere for the character. Never before have we seen him in this kind of circumstance. But all of a sudden, he's just this adventurer who's on, looking for lost stuff. It's really kind of ridiculous. But I do like the fact that he's always dragged into these situations. He's never the one that's out there looking for these things. So that's interesting. I do like that. But the situations he finds himself in are just so totally ridiculous. It is nothing like the former seasons of the show. It's really sad, too, because this is another season where they changed something on the show. MacGyver's voiceover is gone in this season. They did away with that aspect of the show. Maybe it was too hard to get Richard Dean Anderson into a room and have him record a voiceover after the fact of all these episodes. Maybe it was taking too much time. He didn't have the time anymore. He didn't want to do it. I think it really becomes the fact that the writing in the show at this point is so sloppy that they kind of had to just do it all in line because it really didn't work with voiceover anymore, which is too bad. Because MacGyver, the running joke was he would always talk about something that had happened when he was a kid that would remind him of a way to get out of a certain situation or how to solve something. And in this season, I mean, it's basically just him getting locked up in a room all the time. So there was really no need for him to have like a grandiose moment or kind of like some kind of voiceover, because there's none of that kind of action to be found in this season, which is really too bad. They also introduce a few new characters that are really dumb. One of which I kind of like is the Colton character. The Coltons are like a family of bounty hunters that are introduced, and I mean, it's interesting to have these characters, but we're a little too deep into the show to be really dealing with more characters that are recurring at this point. I think we have enough at this point, but again, it's something that the show did, and you kind of have to deal with it, sadly. Something else that gets interesting in this season is there are way more episodes that push some kind of message. There's an episode in this season that deals with the Chinese, the Tiananmen Square incident. There's another episode that deals with rhino poaching in Africa, which I actually found to be very, very, very touching. It's an episode that kind of comes out of nowhere, but it's a great episode. They filmed some of it actually on location, which I thought was great, that we finally get out of Canada. There are actually quite a few episodes that are filmed in other places around the world, which I thought was nice. But some of these episodes that are kind of like the special episodes, there's one episode that's kind of like a Christmas episode that's really ham-fisted. And again, MacGyver really doesn't do anything of note throughout the episode. It's just this kind of like after-school special kind of episode. And there are way too many of them this season. Also interesting to note, there's a season of this show where MacGyver has a dream and he's in the Old West. I can't make this up. There's an episode where he literally falls asleep watching a Western, and the entirety of the rest of the episode takes place with MacGyver in the West. And again, it just makes you think, man, they really are running out of ideas at this point. Is it an entertaining episode? Yeah, it kind of is. But compared to the former seasons, it is just really ridiculous. I also like the fact that he also has like a wooden Swiss Army knife in this episode. In that episode, again, why I don't know, but it was a nice nod to his use of the Swiss Army knife throughout the other seasons. But again, it's a really, really kind of wild season. It's so all over the place. You have these episodes that are really zany and crazy, and that are really comedic, and some of them do work, some of them don't. And then there are these other episodes that are just wildly, deadly serious, and it's really hard to go up and down like that all throughout the season. The highlight to me in this season was an episode where they actually have to pull off a sting on these bad guys, and it's called Jenny's Chance, and it's a great episode where they get to really like play these parts, and the ending is actually very, very creative. So if you do get a chance to watch this season, be careful. It's not the greatest of seasons of the show. It's still watchable. I think the one thing of note in this season is that MacGyver's hair is in full swing in this thing. He has a full blonde mullet, like it's almost like he's got a perm in every episode. His hair is bonkers in this season, and I guess it's so much so that it really changed the way he looked. They had to go back and reshoot the title sequence of the show. So this season starts where they actually have reshot sequences of the title sequence because Richard Dean Anderson's hair was so wild it actually changed his appearance. On top of that, he's pretty much tan in this season. So it is just such a nutty change that they went back and reshot the title sequence. Crazy. They also went back and changed the theme for the 5th season in a row. They changed the theme of the show. Now it's a little more orchestral to fit the rest of the show. This season, I think Randy Edelman actually left the show, so we have music from another composer that's more orchestral and not as much synthesized work, but it's more orchestra stuff. So, interesting to see. It does change the tone of the show, but then again, the whole show has changed at this point. It is really very different from its former episodes. So, again, it's worth watching, but just be prepared for some really cringe-worthy episodes and a few good ones. I mean, there are a few good ones. My rating for this season is like a 2.5 out of 5. Again, not that great. There are some good episodes. There are some exciting moments. But for the most part, this is where the show really began to go downhill. Until next time, I'm Andrew Cavanaugh. We'll see you in the next episode where we look at Season 6 of MacGyver. Thank you very much. Good night.